Coming up, the International Space Station will be ready for a 6-person crew once they receive Colbert. SBSP from PG&E. ISS may live longer than originally planned, but first we'll have an interview with the ISDC conference chair, Tim Bailey. All that and a whole lot more on this April 17th edition of Spacevidcast Live. There are those who call him Tim. Welcome to Spacevidcast Live. My name is Benjamin Higginbotham, and with me is beautiful, lovely, wonderful, talented, incredibly intelligent, and gorgeous Carrie Ann Higginbotham. We are the Spacevidcasters, all in one breath. That's right, that just happened. And we've got an action-packed episode for you today. We have got the, co-chair? No, chair?
Conference chair.
Conference chair titles.
We're interviewing a chair today. It should go very well.
The conference chair of ISDC 09, Tim, with us. Tim, welcome to Spacevidcast.
Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So, Tim, first off, what is ISDC 2009?
ISDC is the International Space Development Conference. It's the National Space Society's annual conference that's open for the general public, basically. We bring together industry leaders, we bring together business people, and we make sure that it's a conference that's easily accessible by the general public. So rather than being a business conference that has a high registration rate and very specific program topics to the business end, we make sure that it's something that everybody can come and enjoy. Students, people that are outside the space industry but are still interested in it. I want it to be a conference where my mom can come and learn something about space and meet people that are actually doing it. Mm-hmm. So we really work to make sure that it's the citizen space conference and that everybody has an opportunity to participate in some way.
Well, to that end, what are you doing that would be more consumer-oriented as opposed to business-oriented? I mean, someone could get up on stage and start spewing out acronyms left and right, and general consumer, oh yeah, I would totally do that. A general consumer is going to have no idea what they're talking about. So what are you doing to kind of consumerize this a little bit more?
Well, one thing we do is we pick our speakers so that it reaches a broad range of topics. A broad range of topics. We do have some things that are in there that are business oriented, but we also have the FAA's Commercial Space Transportation office that's coming in to do some talks. We have Elon Musk from SpaceX that's coming in to do talks. We have people that are high-level speakers that are used to talking to people outside the space industry about these different things so that it's a little easier for them to transition to not always using, the COTS D program just exclusively. There's still going to be some of that, but it's easy enough to digest, and there are enough people there that support it, that are just space activists, that you can ask somebody next to you, or the moderator will make sure that gets addressed while the conference is going on.
So how big is the conference? Is this just a little hotel room with a couple of conference centers, or how big is this?
ISDC has been growing over the past 5 or 6 years. It used to be a smaller conference, but now we get upwards of 1,000 people that actually come through the conference every year. It's a 4-day conference, so we do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's easier for people to make it to the conference that do still have to work. And we precede that with the business end of the deal. We do a partner organization comes in and does a business track called the Space Investment Summit on Wednesday. So we've got the business people, and then we kind of lead into the rest of the conference. It's fantastic, and I hope you guys can actually make it down. I think this would be a great way to pull more of the public in, is to actually give them more access directly to what's going on at the conference, even if they can't be there.
Swoon. Well, we're certainly going to try to make it down, but one of the things is it's in Orlando. I mean, unlike a vidcast where anyone can tune in from anywhere, you are in Orlando, so you have to find a way to make it down to Orlando. There are room rates and other things like that, so we're certainly going to try to make it. And that's something for the viewers as well. They should know. I mean, ISDC 2009 is in Orlando, but they're not always in Orlando, correct?
Correct. The way that the National Space Society works is it's a grassroots chapter-based organization. So our chapter went 2 years ago to the ISDC. and made a pitch to the board of directors and said, we'd like to have it in Orlando. These are some of the activities we can offer. This is some of the program ideas that we have that we think will be cool to play with. And this is what we want the conference to look like. So they approved us to put on ISDC. And since that time, we've been working on getting a really awesome hotel. The Omni at Champions Gate is a really good Florida resort. So if you're looking for someplace that doesn't have snow in May, you can come down to Omni. Maybe,
Hey!
Do a business
No
meeting with the
knocking
laser
on Minnesota for having snow in May.
We don't have snow ever, so it's hard for me to imagine.
Oh man, what are some of the really cool? So we cover what the consumers are going to go and be able to see, but what about the space geeks? I mean, the hardcore nerdy guys who want to be like, I really like the SSMEs, which are they should use those on the new Ares 1 launch vehicle because the SSME is just a fantastic engine. I really think it's great. So the guys who do that, not her, me, more like me. What do you have for them? What's going to entice them to go to ISDC 2009 other than being around other space geeks?
So the way we set up ISDC is that we've got the big name speakers and the people that are a little more accessible in the mornings and big plenary sessions where everybody's there. So that'd be like the NASA policy panel where they talk about how NASA policy gets made and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And then in the afternoon, we have a bunch of simultaneous track sessions. Now those run the gambit. That could be anything from an education session where we have students that have been doing space projects presenting those projects out. That could be somebody having a debate over whether they should be using an SSME or a J2X engine on the Ares, or if there should be an alternate to the Ares. So the afternoon track sessions is really where we diversify out, and you can learn about Mars, the current missions that are going on, the missions that are planned, and people that want to go live there. And that's really where it starts to break out, and that's where you'll see people kind of cluster to what they know best and what they're really focused on. So we'll have 4 or 5 of those going on simultaneously every afternoon.
Well, Tim, the chat room is asking about pricing and specifically teacher pricing. You mentioned it's consumer friendly. What does that mean? How much would it cost for me to go down and visit ISDC 2009?
Well, right now, airfares are really cheap, number one. We found a couple of people, and they said it was just ridiculous cheap to buy their airfare right now. So if you're thinking about going, that's definitely something to look at. I heard somebody got like $200 round trip.
Oh, wow.
Until April 23rd, we still have our early bird pricing, which is $125 for all 4 days of the conference. Nice. So that's, if you look anywhere else in industry, that is a ridiculously low price for a 4-day space conference with the type of speakers that we're going to be having there. I mean, we've got Buzz Aldrin, we've got, like I said, the FAA's Commercial Space Transportation Department. We've got Elon Musk from SpaceX talking about how private industry is going to come in and do things. The Google Lunar X Prize guys are going to be there talking about private missions to the moon. We've got authors and historians coming in. Andrew Chaikin is going to be there. He's a semi-famous space author. So there's a lot of cool things that are going on. $125 gets you in the door for all 4 days right now as either an NSS member or as a member of an affiliate organization, which probably everybody can find some way to be a member of. Nice. Standard rate is $150, I think, right now. So, you know, really high prices. And if you're a student, you can get in for $50, and that's the whole conference.
You mentioned Buzz Aldrin as a speaker. That's kind of, you just like, oh, Buzz Aldrin will be there. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. One of 12 men to have walked on the surface of the moon is going to be at your conference. And I believe that was actually announced earlier today. Is that correct?
That's correct. Buzz is definitely going to be one of the speakers that's there. He's actually on the board of directors for the National Space Society. So I've been inside this so long now that I forget that those kinds of people are coming and that it's such a big deal. I mean, I've seen his name on everything for so long that it's just like, oh yeah, that's Buzz. He's going to be there. It'll be great. He's walked on the moon. It's fantastic.
Oh, that guy.
He's on the moon.
That guy.
Yeah, been there, done that.
You know, the dime a dozen.
Yeah, BZ Wing just said that he saw Rutan last year at ISDC at the gala, which we haven't announced what we're doing there yet. But last year's gala, we gave an award to Burt Rutan and to Hugh Downs.
Oh, wow.
And Miles O'Brien was the one there giving out those awards. So we definitely get some high-level speakers in to the conference.
Now, for those who don't know, Rutan owns or runs Scaled Composites, which won the Ansari X Prize, which is what Virgin Galactic, their new space plane, that's going to let you travel into space. Well, I mean, frankly, you haven't been able to do that up until now. And so he's built a vehicle that allows you to travel into space. So the people who are changing the future of the planet. Is that dramatic enough?
That is,
How's that?
Well, like us.
Well, no, seriously, these are people who are changing the way we look at space travel.
Yeah, no,
They're the
absolutely.
they're the ones who visit this conference. I sound like a giant commercial now, but I mean it's kind of a big deal when you
You
look
are a
at
giant commercial.
I'm a walking commercial. When you look at the guest list of who's going to be there, or the speaker list of who's going to be there, it's quite impressive. It's really cool. We're excited about it.
if you go
why
to
you're here, Tim.
ISDC2009.org and look at the speakers page, that gives you kind of a broad overview of the type of people that we're going to have there. So we have people from all over NASA and the government and commercial industry. And like you said, people that are making huge leaps and bounds in what's possible in the space industry right now. And this is where you get to actually be close enough to them to ask them a question or interact with them a little bit. I know a lot of the students like to come out to the conference because there's a good chance that you're going to get on the elevator one day and look up, and it could be, the not just somebody from the company, but the owner of SpaceX is going to be there, Elon Musk. I've had that happen before. Or, you jump in an elevator and there's Rusty Schweikert, one of the Apollo astronauts, Apollo 9 astronaut is standing there next to you, on his way to his room. And
That's crazy.
It is, but it's a great opportunity for people to really get some one-on-one time and get to know some of these guys.
So in other words, just go to the hotel, don't pay for anything, and just ride the elevators up and down in hopes that you'll probably bump into somebody. If you can't afford to really go, just ride the elevators all day. It'll be great.
I don't think that's
you almost could, and it would be worth it. But it's much better to actually be in the sessions and have a tag and not look creepy.
Oh, I suppose.
Jeff actually, or Jeff in the chat room actually asked if there's going to be live streaming of ISDC 2009, and actually I believe Tim, we're kind of trying to figure out if we're going to be able to make that go. So I don't know if you guys have something outside of that's going to be happening for the conference.
I don't know. We're talking about some things right now. Actually, we just had a call and we're trying to figure out how to take questions. Maybe online somewhere, and then respond to them. If not live, at least do a video back so that we can have a little more interaction, asynchronous interaction offline. But that's, we're testing it out this year. I think we're going to be one of the more high-tech conferences, which is why we want you guys there. We would have loved to have the NASA Edge guys there. We're just trying to figure out a bunch of different ways that we can interact. We've got a Twitter feed going and Facebook pages.
So already making faces about the NASA Edge guys.
No NASA Edge. Listen, they're only going to go there so they can try to beat us at the moon pie eating contest, and we already know who's going to win that contest.
GLXP.
No.
We are.
We are going to win the moon pie eating contest. So NASA, I don't know what you're talking about. Jeez. So
I'm waiting to hear about that. What do you guys know about this moon pie eating contest? I asked my contacts at KSC, and they were a little cryptic about it. So I'm interested to what's going on with this moon pie eating thing.
What happened was, it's pretty much all Quarkspin's fault. Quarkspin is in the room, so in case you guys, yes, of course we're talking smack, Chris. Of course we're talking smack. What happened was that, Google Lunar X Prize is going back to the moon. And so they're, moon pies. I'm sure you're familiar with moon pies. Of course, has the name Moon in it, right? Somewhere along the line, Quarkspin decided to send a big old box of moon pies to GLXP. And so Mike at GLXP, I suppose I should specify. Yes, brilliant idea. And actually, Mike and Will Pomerantz, so Mike Fabio and Will Pomerantz had already had an eating contest between the two of them when they went to Google, and Will won. He just smacked Mike big time. And so Will and Mike were like, okay, that's it. We are going to go head to head again, and we'll see what happens this time. So they did the very traditional, had the moon pie and the RC Cola, and they decided to do that. Well, as soon as we saw that, we were just laughing. We couldn't believe how funny that was. And we know Quarkspin as well, so we were kind of complaining to him that he was playing favorites just a little bit and decided to send us, why didn't we get moon pies? So then lo and behold, we got some moon pies. So then we had to decide to try and do a moon pie off between the two of us.
I had my butt handed to me.
Yes, he did, because I have a gigantic mouth, is pretty much what it comes down to. He does a lot of talking on this show, but as soon as the camera goes off, it's all me.
So it really comes down to a giant eating contest. Who can eat a moon pie faster? Right now, it is in Team Google Lunar X Prize, it is Mike. In Team Spacevidcast is Carrie Ann.
And we figured,
and
NASA
who else?
Edge.
We've thrown down the gauntlet to NASA Edge as well, but we don't know who's faster, Franklin, Chris, or Blair.
I know, and they keep talking.
They're
blah,
talking,
blah,
they
blah.
talk about
We
it.
can take you guys.
All I hear is talk. I don't see him happening. And we're saying that we should have the final moon pie off at ISDC 2009.
But they're not going to be there, so we're just
Lame.
going to, I don't know, we're going to have to figure something out, I suppose. We'll have to, exactly, like this, exactly.
So Tim, you don't just do ISDC. I mean, you are an all-around space geek. I'm looking at your shirt. You've got the Yuri's Night logo on your shirt, because you chair some of that stuff too, don't you?
That's right. I'm a assistant director for Yuri's Night on the global level. So when we talk about Yuri's Night, it's a global event that celebrates human spaceflight, and it's like the St. Patrick's Day for space people. It's just a time we can all get
It's more like
together.
the Hanukkah for space people. It's like a week and a half long. What's going on with this
it
thing?
really was this year. I mean, holy
Yuri's
cow.
Night is now suddenly going to be like Yuri's Month. It's going to be, there's Black History Month, there's Hispanic Month, there's Women's Month. It's
There's
gonna be
Yuri's Month.
Yuri's Space Month, which I personally think is great. Don't get me wrong.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. Now, there is World Space Week that's in October, and that's a more education-oriented and formalized type of space celebration that goes on.
I don't know about you, but I was
Yuri's Night is
drinking a
definitely
lot
supposed to be
during
the
Yuri's
fun
Night. I
one.
don't think
No, World
that's very
Space Week.
educational.
No, World Space Week is what he's talking about.
I know, I'm
we
just
don't want to
saying.
step on those.
I'm just saying that
we don't want to step on that.
Doesn't seem like quite the same thing to me.
No need to pull an SNL and get little children drunk. So sorry. I'm sorry. Go on.
So you do
we're
Yuri's
totally
Night
interrupting.
as well, and that was pretty awesome this last week, actually this last couple of weeks. It's still going on though, isn't it?
It is, and actually we broke a record this year. We had never had over 200 parties before, and this year we're already up to, I think, 216 or something, and they keep
Awesome.
going on. We keep finding more of them being registered.
So it'll just continue on for the rest of the year. You'll never end.
they're just not
continuing
stopping.
A Yuri's party every week for the rest of the year. It'll be great.
It did say 09. It didn't say for only 1 week. So I suppose that's legit as far as I'm concerned.
But in addition to chairing all this other stuff, and you work with NSS as well, National Space Society as well, I believe. Is that correct?
I'm the president of the local chapter down here, so that's how I got involved with ISDC.
Of course you are. Of course you are. I would expect nothing less from you. And you also work. You do consulting with Space Adventures, our
Zero G.
Zero G, which is all part of. It's all part of the same thing now.
I'm very happy.
For all of that fun jazz. So I mean, you are just an all round. You pretty much have my dream job. I'm just throwing it out there right here, right now. I want to be you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really cool. A lot of it is being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people and going to conferences like ISDC. I mean, it sounds like just a sales pitch, but that's why I wanted to do ISDC down here in Florida is because I know the power of going to these conferences and just being out there and meeting people and getting in a chat room like this and talking with you guys. I mean, every time I come into the chat room and listen to the show, I find out something new. I meet somebody new that I didn't even know was around my own area. And that's really how I've made a lot of these connections and been able to do so many cool things. I've been out and I saw all the X Prize launches when Spaceship One went up. I was actually in the Mojave and watched them go up. And those things wouldn't have happened if I wasn't actively engaged in my passion and had a partner in that too. My wife is also a cool space nut, so she puts up with a lot of the stuff that I get to go and do.
Woohoo!
And
It's good to have that pairing. It's nice to have a space
That
geek.
it is. Ben doesn't share my love for pop culture, and I don't share his love for dragons. But at least space, we can agree on that. So that's good.
So Tim, if someone's kind of like us, and I know a lot of people in the chat room, and a good chunk of the people who watch the show are just, I mean, they're a lot like us. They're kind of, I wouldn't call them closet space geeks, but it's definitely something that we're all interested in. Is that how you would get started? Just kind of going to these conferences, or at least talking to people online, being part of the live chat rooms? Dare I say the live Spacevidcast chat room? What would you do to get started? And if you could go back in time and start your career over again, how would you do it today, right now?
Wow, that's two really interesting questions. And I'll do the first one first. I do talk to students sometimes, and what I always tell them is there's a couple of really key things about getting involved with a space program. One is to go out there and open your mouth and really, like this, connect with other people, talk about it, make sure that people know that you're interested in it and what you're interested in. and be specific. If you really like Apollo stuff, or if you're just a sci-fi geek, or if you really would love to debate the engine qualities between Ares and the direct launcher, make sure people know that that's what you're into, because there's a broad range of being a space geek out there. So be specific, be loud, and make big requests of people. When you're in the elevator with Rusty Schweikert and you've got an Apollo 9 astronaut standing there, don't just drool. If you've got something, if you're interested in near-Earth objects and that's what Rusty Schweikert is into, say, hey, I'm really interested in asteroids and looking at asteroid deflection or Earth protection. How can I get involved with the B612 Foundation that you chair? Because I would love to come in and be an intern. I would love to do some web work for you. Really give people what you want. Don't just stand there meek and mild. The way into the space program is to be bold and say what you want and then go out there and get it. And there are people that have done that. Peter Diamandis, Bob Richards. When you look at the people that have put together some of these great programs recently, Elon Musk, he said, I think that this is something that is not fundamentally expensive, and we should be able to make going to space cheaper. And he went out and started a rocket company. Peter said we should have a place where people can go and just learn about space in an interdisciplinary, international environment, and started a university to do that. And those aren't things that are meek and mild. You really have to be direct and loud and specific about what you want, I think, in any area of life. And that really is how it happens in the space industry. We're still so small that if you get inside and people start to know you and know what you want and what you're interested in and what you're good at, then they'll call on you. And it's that easy to get involved. Look at what you guys are doing. You've gotten to talk to everybody because you knew what you like to do, and you got involved with it, and you started telling everybody we should do this crazy live streaming show on the interweb. And it'll just be all space stuff, and we'll talk about NASA TV. And even I was skeptical of it until I saw it, and I realized what you guys had done. And it's fantastic now, because you followed the steps, and you were loud, and you did what you knew and what you loved, and everybody's followed along after you. And I'm sure you've gotten those same questions. How do you do that? How do you become so successful? How can I have a space TV show too on the internet?
We don't tell them.
No. We're like,
oh, you can't. Well, you can't. That's our space. That's our space.
No, are you kidding? We give ourselves away.
I suppose that's true,
it's
too.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Tim, you are, you're very entrenched in the space arena, and I hope we can bring you back on sometime soon. I definitely would encourage every Spacevidcaster out there, everyone in the chat room, certainly do everything you can to get to ISDC 2009. And I realize the tickets aren't that expensive. They're $125 right now. But times are tough, and you may have to scrap it together. Go into the couch, see if you can't pull some change up.
Somebody told me this is the biggest space conference of the year. So it's sort of
that
like,
correct?
If you go to one, this is the one you should be going to.
Especially for everybody that's probably in the chat room right now, that is true. I mean, there are large business space conferences, there's
Right.
military space conferences, and there's student space conferences. But when you look at, what is it that the average person would get the most out of going to a space conference? This is it. And that's why I'm associated with ISDC, because I want to be able, like I said, to bring my mom, eventually bring my kids. I mean, we put together a whole kids program where if you bring your kids to the conference, we have trained educators who are going to take them and do fun, cool, stuff with them in the afternoons. So we're really making it where it's accessible to people in a way that other conferences aren't. So I don't know that it's the biggest conference that there is in the world. I think the IAC is an international conference, and they get like 1,000 papers presented.
Right.
But if you don't care about sitting and listening to a white paper from a rocket scientist, and you want to actually talk about rockets, this is probably the place you should be.
Actually, when I geeked out talking about SSMEs, they actually started getting into an SSME debate in the chat room. That's what happens when you have space geek. Well, no, and you're completely right, though. I mean, that's part of what we're trying to build. We're trying to build something that is the person who just doesn't have any space knowledge, they just think it's kind of cool, all the way up to the rocket scientists who build the stuff, and everyone in between. And this is kind of the conference for the Spacevidcasters, in my mind. And that's why we're pimping it out so hard. We're going to do everything we can to make it there. Hopefully we'll be able to, if you're not able to make it for any reason, we'll hopefully stream some of it live. But obviously, if you want to get the full effect, you want to see these people, meet these people, make an impact and make a difference, you got to be there in person. There's nothing like being there
I'm going to
in
make those
person.
spy glasses, so wherever I go, in case I'm in an elevator or something, People yell at me like, "That's so and so," and I'd be like, "Oh, that's right. Hold on. Hi, I have questions for you on my phone."
The chat room is asking me right now.
That would be awesome.
Tim, thank you very much for being on the show. I certainly hope you're not a stranger, and I hope that you come back very soon, and we'll do an ISDC wrap up, as it were, and a bunch of other cool things, because you got your hands on everything at this point.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks a lot. I'll stick around in the chat room.
Perfect.
When we come back, we're going to be talking about the International Space Station, Colbert, and space-based solar power, SBSP, in case you guys were wondering what that acronym was in the introduction.
An FLA.
An FLA. Stay with us. Spacevidcast will be right back.
Hello and welcome to the Crow River Coffee Company in Watertown, Minnesota. Situated on the bank of the beautiful Crow River, we offer espresso drinks, delicious food, live music, bulk beans, and artisan items. You can see us at crowrivercoffee.com. Thanks.
Thank you very much for Max Q for making that quick little STS-125 promo video, and that will be the final servicing mission to the Hubble Space Telescope, and then we're going to lose it. It's all done at that point.
Well, we're not losing
We'll get it for a while longer, and then it goes away. And
You make it sound like they're going to go up and turn it off.
well, no. Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, it turned itself off not that long ago, so, just like, bink, pull the power cable. A giant power cable from Earth up to the Hubble. How do you think they power it? Spacevidcast, we produced the entire show at the Crow River Coffee Company. They loan us the space, and as such, we thank them very much for that. They give it to us for free, and in return, we give them a little bit of advertising time and pimp them out on the show like you wouldn't believe. And Crow River mug, and I believe, can you get that on the website, Kath? The mug?
Can you buy a Crow River coffee
If you can't
mugs?
get it on the website before now, you should be able to soon.
You do now!
Crow River Coffee. We've also got a coffee of the month, and that coffee of the month is...
Nicaraguan Segovia.
Yeah, there you go. You can get that at crowrivercoffee.com, and the only way to get a Spacevidcast sticker is to buy the coffee of the month. You go to Crow River Coffee, get the coffee of the month, and get one of the really cool vinyl stickers that you see on the back of this computer. It's the only way to get it. Only way to get it. So thank you, Caffeinated, for that. And I think it's time for some space news. What do you think?
Yeah, probably.
Let's do this thing. Yeah! Yeah, reveal the black. Hey, pretty good show thus far. I mean, that's
That was pretty good, I have to admit.
So the International Space Station is prepping for a 6-person crew. And
Well, they're just about done.
right. I mean, well, that's what they've been building towards.
They've been prepping and prepping and prepping.
Adding another potty, because you don't want to have to, you don't want to have a line of 3 people waiting to use the potty.
Well, and especially when, I can only use this potty and they can only use that potty.
Exactly.
You want to make sure that they're equally dispersed amongst the entire station.
So they added additional potty. They've added a bunch of they added additional power for more experiments. They've been adding all this fun jazz to the ISS. They're almost ready to go, but they're missing one key thing. What are they missing?
I don't know. What are they missing?
They're missing the COLBERT.
Oh yeah, that thing. Oh yeah, Colbert.
So Stephen Colbert, that whole contest, they didn't name Node 3 after him. Instead, he got the Combined Operational Load-Bearing External Resistance Treadmill, or the Colbert.
They must have had a lot of fun coming up with that. When you already have a set, an acronym that you need to work, the letters that you have to then put words into. I'm sure they had. I'm sure there's a lot
I love the
of
picture.
words.
Can we go back to that
had
actually? The
for
picture
that
of
one.
Colbert, because apparently that is actually the patch for the Colbert. Look at that.
Supposedly, in which case I do want one because I think it's hysterical personally. Even if it's just a sticker, I'll take that. No problem. I think I still have some room on my laptop. I can put that in there somewhere. And this is the thing, if I may, for a moment.
Sure, absolutely.
So NASA said, hey, we would like some help naming our node.
Node 3.
Fine. They said, here are 5 or 6 different names that we were kind of thinking about.
Or write your own in.
So what happened?
Colbert won.
Everybody voted, right? The whole universe got together and voted. Colbert won, but he won not only the write-in vote, but he won the overall vote. He had something like 230 some odd thousand votes.
Right, now keep in mind though, NASA reserved the right to not
right,
pick
star,
their own
star,
name at
you
any
go to
time,
the bottom
right?
and the teeny tiny little legalese.
For this exact reason, because there are reasons why you don't want to name it Colbert.
Right, well,
so we pretty much knew they weren't going to name it Colbert.
And that's fine, and I accept that as an answer. However,
you then go to one of the 5 that was the one that they picked out, the one that got the most votes, right?
The other one that
Serenity.
130,000 votes, right?
Serenity, yes.
Serenity.
Yep, that's what won.
Right.
That's not what they named it.
They named it Tranquility.
If they were going to name it something, if they were going to name it Tranquility anyhow, why did they have the contest? They're going to name it Tranquility. It didn't win the write-in vote. It didn't win the popular vote of the votes that they were just kind of like, Stephen Colbert won, Serenity won. How about we call it Tranquility?
This is the issue I have. I like that they're calling it Tranquility. It's a lovely name, and it coincides with the Apollo 11 landing in the Sea of Tranquility. There's, the anniversary, blah, blah, blah. But if you wanted to call it Tranquility, why didn't you just name it Tranquility? Why ask me for my opinion and then turn around and go, but we really want to just name it this anyway?
But look at the promotion they got on the
Yeah, except it was
report.
got to be one of the worst PR things on the face of the planet.
Okay, but
because
all the
now
people
you
that
have
really
at least
realize
230 people who are pissed off, right?
230?
230,000 people who are ticked, and then you've got another 130 or 160 on top of that because it didn't even go with Serenity either.
I don't know. I think that Colbert did a pretty good job of on the Colbert Report, really making it like, oh, this is awesome. Who wants to be named after a node? I'm named after a treadmill. So he did a good job of that. So I don't think the people that voted for Colbert are pissed. But I do think that some of the people who voted for Serenity are going to be like, what's up? What's up? I think it's weird. I think that I understand why they didn't name it Colbert, right? I mean, if you're going to be naming a node after a person, you probably want to start looking at those who gave their life to space travel first. Or,
right.
I mean, there are certainly things.
Right. You don't want to name it Colbert before naming it,
that's
Challenger
sticky.
or Columbia or whatever. And I get that. I completely understand. And because of the star, I pretty much expected that. What I didn't expect was them to basically turn around and go, oh no, Fart Monkey. We just really like that one instead.
What's funny, Daryl V2 in the chat room says, well, forget that. Now I'm never going to visit Tranquility ever in the future.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm
totally ignoring that node for the rest of my life now.
Yeah.
No, I know and I get it, but it kind of sucks, and it's sort of, I think it was a bad PR move in general on their part. I like the idea that Colbert was pumping it up, and I like that Colbert was really bringing it to the forefront of Americans' minds because, you say ISS to people and they go, what?
You've got an extra S.
No, in fact, there was a woman, and I'm not going to name any names, but there was a woman, and I was talking about the ISS, and I very specifically said, International Space Station, this is what we do for Spacevidcast, and, they're going up to the International Space Station, and I kid you not, she looked me dead in the face and said, oh, I just came back from there. And I was like, well, how do you not know what the International Space Station is?
That's why we're here.
I wasn't even using TLAs or acronyms or anything, you guys. I mean, I very specifically said that, and so I thought, I appreciate that Colbert really has brought it to the forefront of people's minds, and so but then it just sort of felt like a slap in the face.
It did a little bit.
You know what I'm saying?
So that's our rant on I think we'll end the ranting on the picking on NASA. It's easy to pick on NASA.
End
they
rant.
make it so easy. Why do they make it this easy?
Right. I wouldn't pick on you if you weren't so silly.
The SPSB from PG&E. The space-based solar power, and that's
Yes.
This is one of those things that I'm a big advocate for: space-based solar power, reducing our dependency not only on foreign oil but just fossil fuels in general. Space-based solar power is hopefully going to help with that, and they're working on making a giant power station in space.
Right. It's a Southern California utility company called Pacific Gas and Electric. And so they're looking into going into outer space, essentially, for space-based solar power. And they're looking to purchase up to 200 megawatts of solar power beamed from space down to Earth. And this is maybe not necessarily the exact satellite-ish thingy that they're working with, but it was a good picture, and so that's pretty much why we're using it there. So don't yell at me for saying that's the wrong one and all that other fun stuff. But that's basically what's going on. Project is built, is my understanding, and operational, and is supposed to go up within the next 5 years.
Here's why this is exciting, because everyone's trying to figure out, these private space companies are trying to figure out where is the profit in space. How do we make money doing this stuff? Now, the Virgin Galactics of the world, they're making money by doing suborbital flights, and that will get us thus far. But we're always looking at this, and we're looking at what's about to come out, and we're looking at 2 steps in front of that. You can't keep doing suborbital flights forever. You got to move past that. We got to get these flights into low Earth orbit. We got to get these flights past anywhere we can, back onto the moon and onto Mars. And we're not just talking about putting any humans on the moon, or just specialized humans on the moon and Mars. That's what I wanted to say. I kind of screwed up that soapbox, didn't I?
We don't want to just put anybody on the moon.
No,
we don't want to
just
put
me.
special people on the moon.
No, yeah, exactly. We want to be able to put anyone who wants to go to the moon. You should have the option of going to the moon. You should be able to stay on a lunar colony. And we got to take baby steps. First, we got to find the money in this. So my point is that space-based solar power, SBSB, is one of those things that will help monetize privatized space, and it's going to turn it into a much larger, dare I say, more legitimate industry. I'm excited for that.
It's one of those things, again, it kind of goes back to the Colbert thing. It's one of those things that people understand. And people in general are behind solar power. And so getting solar power basically directly from the source, or as close to the source as you can really
get. Getting out of our atmosphere,
get.
Easy sail.
Exactly. It's not like saying, oh, we're going to go and mine meteors for H3 or 3H or H33H3. And people don't even know what that means, and they already think that you're talking about Hummers. I mean, it's a little hard to sort of get across, especially to the people who think that they just came back from the ISS. So to say space-based solar power, especially when you say it all out and not SPSB, makes a little bit of sense, and you can get anyone from generally not terribly conservative all the way down to the hippies, like anybody and everybody in between can get behind this, and which means, in my mind, it'll go faster. It'll actually go.
Well, it sounds like they're looking to do it within the next 5 years. So
yes,
that's a great timeline, and that's exciting. I'm excited to see what space-based solar power is going to do, not just from building out the space frontier, but also from reducing our dependence on fossil fuels and foreign oils and whatnot.
Exactly.
So there's that, and then the ISS itself, which is drastically behind schedule. Imagine that. There's a surprise. Maybe extending its life, because I think it was originally supposed to only go until like 2012 or something like that.
Something along those lines, but it looks like it can be extended all the way out to. Then this is the most gorgeous shot ever. We can just linger here for a second.
And admire.
Yeah. This, of course, is the finished ISS. Well, not totally finished, but it now has all of its solar
panels.
Solar arrays?
Yep, that works too.
Okay, yay! Not solar flares. Anyhow, so now it's even on all the different sides.
I'm converting her a little bit at a time.
The worst part was I was going to say solar arrays, and then I thought, maybe that's wrong. I don't want to say that out loud if it's wrong. Okay, anyhow. But it looks like 15 partnering nations have gotten together to try and keep the ISS open until 2020 at the very least, which is kind of a good thing, bad thing. It's not as bad as trying to keep the shuttle through 2020, because it's not that deteriorated and all of that other fun stuff. But I'm hoping that means that we'll actually get something done, and that's not to say that we're not getting stuff done on the ISS. But I guess it feels to me personally, being a slight kind of outsider, that, what are we doing up there? Every once in a while you hear like, oh, we have a spider and it learned how to spin a web, and oh, we have sweet potatoes, and isn't that neat? And oh, and we have non-smelly underwear. But it doesn't feel like we're not Don't even. Okay. No.
Okay.
I know what's happening.
You know, we're doing experiments up there, and that's what we've been doing a lot of this time. But I don't think they do a great job of advertising those experiments to
That's
the
what
general
I'm saying.
populace. But I don't think extending the life of the ISS to 2020 is going to change them advertising these experiments. So you're still going to wonder, what are they doing up at the ISS?
I don't know. I think with 6 people, it'll get a little bit easier, don't you
Or
think?
crowded, one of the two. What happens when one of the potties backs up?
They have like 7 of them up there now.
Do they have a plumber?
We only have 2 American ones, though.
Caution, urine. So anyhow, extending the life of the International Space Station, I believe I heard somewhere that it's going to cost each country $10 billion. I don't think that's per year, because that's a fantastic amount of money per year, but I think it's over the life. 10 billion, yeah, as ISS Rock says, to do that per country, not total, per country is my understanding.
Right, so it's like 15 different countries or something
lot
like
of
that.
money. It's a lot of money.
lot of money. It's a lot of money, but
Oh, well, there you go.
There you
ISS Rocks, I heard it from ISS Rocks, 10 billion. That's what he says per country. That doesn't seem quite right, just because the entire structure itself will have cost 130 billion from point to completion. That would almost double the cost of the entire.
you didn't know they want to gold leaf it too.
They want to gold leaf the ISS.
The whole thing.
That'd be awesome.
The solar rays are going to be diamonds, and then the whole rest of the ISS is going to be gold leafed.
Oh, well, you know, Ron, that brings up a very valid point. It was 130 billion, but I don't think that includes the cost of the shuttle flights.
Oh,
which
yeah,
are,
good call.
Maybe it didn't. I don't know what determines the cost of that 100. I don't know what was included in that number. So, you know, each shuttle flight's like $450 million or $500 million. That's a lot of shuttle flights to get the ISS put together. So that is our show for this week. Join us next week. We're going to be talking with Chris from NASA Edge. Oh, yeah.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah. Maybe we will have our moon pie eating contest on air after
Live.
all. Live. Chris from NASA Edge will be joining us. And you can see that live this Friday at 2 o'clock a.m. Coordinated Universal Time for those of the United States. That'll be Thursday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time, 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time, or 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you at ISDC 2009 and next week too.